Roll Tide, everybody, and welcome to the show. We're going to talk Alabama as they get set to take on South Florida, second game of the season. What can we glean from all of that production last week? But what are we maybe overlooking because of all the scores that Alabama had last week? We'll talk about that and more. Make sure you like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up, and let's get this thing going with a, as I say every day, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, Roll Tide. There he is, Clint Lamb. I'm Mick Gillispie. Roll Tide to you, Clint.
How you doing today, brother? It's Thursday. We're a day closer to seeing Alabama back on the field. Already week 2. Is it just me or is it going by super fast?
I mean, I can't even believe it. Like, I was talking to a buddy of mine today, and I was like thinking, okay, the tailgate show, right? That's going to be 3 days from now. It's like, no, it's tomorrow. And I'm like, what? Sit here trying to figure out like everybody, like, how am I going to get it all put together? Sitting there doing it. I'm going, man, I can't believe it's already like we're already going back to Tuscaloosa. We're already getting set for another kickoff, another post-game show. We want to hear what everybody has to say. So it's exciting. It just has rolled right up on us.
Yeah, it has. And, I like how the schedule's setting up because it's kind of like, Western Kentucky, week 1, USF, in week 2, a little bit better of an opponent. Wisconsin on the road, week 3, definitely a sizable jump there. And then you got a bye week before Georgia, who is, currently the number 1 team in America. So, a lot left to be figured out. We did get a small sample size, but just with the way that game played out last week, it's really hard to figure some things out as far as what it's all going to look like when, Alabama's not a 30.5 point favorite. And I know that that's the case this week, but USF presents some different challenges. And I think that, a little bit more will be revealed this week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Roll Tide, everyone, right back at you. Norman, good to see you. And Bob, always here. Jim, Chris, Roll Tide. You've went back and watched the film, and you've done that, and that's what you do. And it's one of the things you guys got to check out, covercrimson.com, and you can join now for $1. As a matter of fact, we just did another one of those shows with Mike Johnson, the All-American Report, for subscribers only. I mean, I came into this studio with the wheels just like, right in from the other studio from doing that show. So if you're a subscriber, make sure you go and watch that after this. But we were talking about the team and what you can get from a 63-0 win, and how the team played outside of the score itself, right? When you look at the offensive line, the offense, and there's people that are concerned about Milroe. I mean, they really are. Like, a lot of people like me are comfortable with him. Some of you guys aren't. What are you getting from the being able to go back and look at the film, and as far as like how the team looked outside of the result?
I think from Jalen Milroe's, with his case in particular, you saw a guy who is making tremendous improvements. He's still not a finished product though. And I don't know if anybody had the expectation that coming into this season, he would be a finished product, in game 1, but you'll continue to see growth throughout this year, probably just like you saw growth from him last year. And, I want people to keep that in mind, but I saw a guy who was going through his progressions a lot more consistently. Not only was he going through his progressions, but by doing so, he was finding an open guy, Ryan Williams on both of his touchdowns, and they were touchdown passes. And so, doing kind of that Bryce Young-esque play, out to Kendrick Law, you see a guy who's steadily improving. He was doing it last year when the opponents got a lot tougher. Obviously, that progress halted a little bit. That's to be expected to an extent. But, you would expect him also to continue to get better each and every week this year. And, UCF or USF, I keep calling him UCF. I've done it all week.
I did that last year every single time.
Every time. I need to call him You called him South Florida, and I need to just start calling him South Florida, because if I do that, I won't make the mistake. But
right.
Against South Florida, I would fully expect Milroe to continue to make progress. They're going to get some things on tape. Kalen DeBoer, that he was coaching him, he was telling him what to do going in. You go back and you watch and you say, okay, this is what I was telling you to do. This is what you did. I love that you did this. This is something that you can continue to work on. And so, you would expect it to continue to get better. I really like where he's heading, though. I know some people, for one reason or another, just seem to still be down on him. But I would just say, continue to give him a chance, man. I think he's really going to surprise some people. He's dynamic, and just some of the things that he can provide you don't get anywhere else.
Yeah. Alpha Dog said, hey, I thought Milroe made good reads on the TD passes to Ryan Williams, Hollywood. The one to Law was really good. That was improvision. That was something that Coach DeBoer brought up in his press conference. And I think, look, man, I'm as hard on any position as anybody. I'm objective. I just don't think that there's any question that Jalen Milroe is the guy that gives Alabama the best option to win. For those people that, and I got a message the other day, like, get my head out of Milroe's behind, right, from somebody that watched the show. And, maybe not in those exact words, but it's not look, I get it. I know that some of you guys don't like him. He is the by far best option to win a national championship. And at Alabama, and you guys know this, maybe some of you guys don't. Chris from Auburn, and jumps on every day, that he might not get it, but Alabama people, the goal is to win championships, national championships, SEC championships. The guy won an SEC championship last year. The goal this year is to win a national championship. He is by far the best option to do that.
Now, I want people to notice that you said best option. Now, you said far and away. I definitely agree with you that he's the best option. I think Alabama could win a national championship with Ty Simpson too. I want to make that very clear. That's what I think about Ty Simpson. So when you say best chance, doesn't mean they wouldn't have a chance with anybody else.
That's right. That's my point.
And that's kind of, you need to clarify, because this isn't really anything negative on Ty Simpson. Neither one of us are, I think Ty Simpson's a phenomenal quarterback. I think Alabama has one of the best quarterback situations in all of college football. When I say that, does that mean that Milroe is without weaknesses or anything? No. Granted, you can look at maybe some of his shortcomings. If you're comparing quarterbacks, maybe a Carson Beck, okay, maybe he doesn't have some of the things that Carson Beck brings to the table, but Carson Beck also doesn't have some things that Jalen Milroe brings to the table.
Right.
And so, it's like, who's the bigger headache? That is an argument that could be made for either one. But I will tell you, defensive coordinators lose sleep over figuring out how they're going to contain Jalen Milroe, especially if he continues to make progress. And like I've said multiple times this week, he's one of those guys that likes to look deep. He's always been very comfortable throwing the deep ball, pushing. Yeah, he's a home run hitter. That's a great way to put it. But what I would like to see him continue to work on is just, working his way back, and, either take off and run sooner, in certain instances, or understand, based off of the coverages that they're giving you, they're bailing guys out. Your check down's going to be there. Just take the check down, take the 5, 6, 8 yards. Who knows? Maybe, one of your all-star running backs, you get him out in space, you check it down to him, and he turns it into, breaks tackle and turns it into a 25-yard gain or something like that. I mean, you can really help pad your stats and look really good at the end of the game just by taking your check downs a little bit more, working your way back. And, like I said, he was going through his progressions. He was going to number 2, number 3. He wasn't doing it consistently, necessarily, but he was doing it enough where you're like, man, he's made tremendous improvement in that area. Yeah. And so I'm a big fan of Milroe. I'm a big fan of Ty Simpson. And I think, they can win a national championship with either one of them.
And that's the goal, and it's so interesting to think of a game where you won 63-0, but look at it in a way where you're like, how difficult is it going to be for this offense to have to go 8, 10, 12 plays down the field? How did the offensive line look? They had the home run hitting ability, which is what we love about Milroe. But what if that wasn't there? Would Alabama have struggled? And, we kind of got into that yesterday, but just looking at the film, do you think that we should be concerned at all? Or do you think that we're in good shape?
No, I wouldn't be concerned. And what they were doing was working. I mean, what do? You call a play, you call that run to Justice Haynes. You're on the 15-yard line. I don't think you're really, I guess most plays, just about every play is designed to score if executed correctly. A lot of times you're not really expecting it as a coach for everything to be executed perfectly. Otherwise, you'd be expecting to score every play.
Mhm.
But, when he rips off an 85-yard run for a touchdown, it's like, well, that was an opportunity to march down the field 85 yards on a 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 play drive, at the very least. And that's not a bad thing. That's just how that game played out. And there's been nothing to suggest. I mean, people will look at like that first drive, and granted, you had your starting left tackle out. You lose him pregame, which is wild. The first snap of the game, your center and left guard both lose their helmet at the same time. Got your entire left side of the offensive line, your backups at that point. Quarterback takes a sack. Now you're behind the sticks, and I think that's a combination of poor technique by Elijah Pritchett and Jalen Milroe, either not being willing to step up in the pocket or holding on to the football too long. But really, that's one of those where you go 3 and out. Maybe there's some concern there from fans. Just, it looked a lot like it did last year. But from that point forward, they were executing at a very high level. And I think that's what you got to be looking for. Like, you want those, more sustained drives. But if they're executing, I mean, what does it really matter?
Mm-hmm. No doubt. Guys, we're brought to you by mybookie.ag. Use the promo code next round to double your initial deposit. That's right. MyBookie will double your initial deposit when you use the promo code next round. Kick off the football season with mybookie.ag and double your initial deposit by using the promo code next round. Dude, I'm just glad that I get to hang out with you and talk about this stuff, because it's just nice to have that friend that goes back and it cracks that film and watches every play. Hey, I didn't like the way the guy's neck moved on this play, but on this other play, he was a lot more consistent. Because I think a lot of us worry about the intricacies of this thing. And here's Ryan. I mean, he thinks that UCF is going to beat Alabama this weekend and and overcome a 31.5 point spread to win the game. And I know it could be kind of maybe a troll type comment, or maybe serious, but last year they were tied at 3 at the half.
They were.
And then on top of that, it was like a 7 to like a, what was it, 10-3 game, like late in the fourth quarter. You remember? And they had to go down and score. So I guess going into this matchup this week, I know that Alabama is very motivated to play these guys again. But at the same time, if you're South Florida, you have to be confident enough to know that you can play with Alabama.
Yeah. And, a couple of things were playing into South Florida's favor last year. Number one, you were playing at their house, going to Bryant-Denny Stadium, night game. That's a little bit of a different challenge. And then, the fact that the quarterback position was so unsettled, you jog out what is now a walk-on wide receiver at Notre Dame as the starting quarterback, and then you go to a Ty Simpson who was not ready at that point, was still very green. The weather obviously played a massive role just as far as breaking any sort of momentum. It was just a wet, sloppy game pretty much from start to finish. That very much played in the USS favor in the sense that they're kind of a volume run team. And so when it's raining and your guys can't sling the football around, granted, Alabama was kind of struggling with that, in some ways anyways. But for that type of game, I mean, Jalen Milroe and his rushing ability really could have offset a lot of that. And you probably would have seen a lot more, offensive success just based off of that. Not, obviously he won the job moving forward and was the best option moving forward anyways. But, just based off his rushing ability, I think that would have offset a lot of what Byron Brown was able to do. So it's going to be a different challenge for them. But for Alabama, it's also, like I said, it's going to present some challenges, just what they like to do offensively. I would like to see them, put an emphasis on stopping the run, because that's what USF does. And it's like, hey, take away their primary ability to, or the way that they want to beat you, and then see if they can play off of that. But just, that's one of the things that Nick Saban and Bill Belichick on the NFL level, they've always, or were always able to do. It's like, okay, whatever you do best offensively, we're taking that away. So if you want to beat us, you're going to have to do it in a different way. And, I would love for Kane Womack's defense to continue to show some of those tendencies. And this is a great opportunity to do that because, USF is so reliant on a run game. If you force them to be one-dimensional, I like Byron Brown. I think he's a really good quarterback, but a lot of his success through the air is played off of the run game and just being successful there. So I would like to see Alabama take away their run game and see what they can do from there.
I'm sure that could be the game plan. And I see that Morgan's like, hey, Ryan, I'll bet you $100 right now that Alabama.
At least it's not eating, eating dog poop. So, keep it to $100. Let's not make any sort of crazy bets out here that no one's going to actually end up doing and getting yourself wrecked on Twitter.
Yeah, I saw that. That there was a guy on Twitter, a Florida State fan, that said that he would eat dog poop out of a Solo cup with a spoon if Florida State lost to Boston College. Well, that happened, and I think he's like deleted all of his like social media. So like, I think you just stand up for yourself and you basically make fake poop and eat it. Like you
Hey, I mean, I will say,
there it is. Knowles 1, 2, 3.
I support, keep it to money or, some kind of something you're willing to do. Like, I don't know why anybody would ever stick their neck out for that. I mean, I feel pretty confident in Alabama's chances of winning this weekend, but I'm not risking anything that absurd.
What's the craziest thing you've ever bet for for one of these bets?
Man, I
probably or said that you would do like, hey, I said, I want to say, what was it? Alabama played somebody, and I said I would walk from Tuscaloosa back to Fairhope if Alabama lost. And I can't remember who it was that they played, but it was, one of these type games, and Alabama won. Easy.
I made a bet one time that I think it was, I don't remember. I think I said I would shave my head, and I was in high school and didn't want to do it. And they're like, I'd had some friends that shaved their arms. And so I always like kind of ragged them about that. And then, when I lost the bet, they're like, okay, well, you don't have to shave your head, but you have to shave your arms. And that was way more miserable. Did not realize, once it starts trying to grow back, I mean, I continue like my entire freshman year of college. Well, I wouldn't say the first few months, I continued to shave it because I didn't want to go through that prickly stage. It was just so annoying with my shirts and stuff. And so I was like, what have I done? And finally I just manned up and just said, I won't get through this initial stages of the prickly phase. But ever since then, I've been like, I've never been a huge bettor anyways, but anything like that, I typically lose. So
here's one from AK. It's funny because I came up with the name of the of this one. If our offense is in sync, does that make our defense the Backstreet Boys?
That's very well played.
I like that. Well played there. Yeah, sure does. Boy bands. So this game for us, I guess we have very high expectations that we think Alabama is going to just run right through them. I mean, they're up in the poll now to number 4. It even with all of the stuff that didn't go well last week, one snap over Milroe's head, he fumbled one, or fumbled the ball. The offensive line not having Proctor, which I thought Coach Cap yesterday saying, I don't ever remember seeing anything like that, which is pretty funny. That guy's awesome, man. Who wouldn't want to play for Coach Cap, right? But when you look at this game and you just put it kind of as, a game that you're supposed to win, I mean, you're really supposed to win. What are you wanting this team to get out of this to get ready for which is going to be a tough physical game at Wisconsin next week?
It's like I said, I'd like to see them stop the run, force South Florida to be one-dimensional, and just see, how much success they can have, going about it that way. I'd love to see Jeremy Bernard get more involved in the passing game. I don't think anybody should be concerned. I've said that multiple times as far as his usage in week 1. He only had the one target. It went for 17 yards. It was a good throw and catch, Milroe to the right sideline. It was a great catch by Bernard. But, just based off of what we had heard about Bernard all throughout the offseason, some people have been concerned. Is it another Malik Benson situation where it's like one of your starting receivers, a lot of hype coming in? Benson started almost every game last season, and he finished in with like 21 targets. He didn't even average 2 per game. And so people start, they remember that situation and start worrying, and it's like completely different situation. And then one of the first things to look out for is the fact that in those 2 receiver sets, it was Ron Williams and Jeremy Bernard. So that tells you exactly what they think about him. They want him to be one of the primary guys on the touchdown, or at least one. I think it was actually both of the touchdowns. I want to say Jeremy Bernard was the primary read, and he just wasn't open for one reason or another. And, Milroe worked his way down to Ron Williams, and Ron Williams scored touchdowns. But that's not going to happen every game. And especially considering Ron Williams was as dynamic as he was with those opportunities, defenses are going to see that moving forward, and they're going to start adjusting. And that should present some opportunities for maybe the primary read, in Jeremy Bernard. And so I think he's going to continue to get more involved in the passing game, but I would like to see that. I would love to see the defense keep the turnover momentum going. Like I was looking at the numbers last year, like Bowling Green, Clemson, and like maybe Cal led the country in turnovers last year, like forced turnovers with 28. And those were in like 13 games. So it was an average of like 2.1 or something like that. So Alabama having 2, if they can continue that, they're going to be up there, in the top 10 nationally in turnovers. And I'm not saying they're going to do that every week, but I would like to see the turnover momentum continue. If they can do that, you really start to feel good about what Womack's trying to do and trying to achieve defensively. Alabama's doing a really good job of executing it on the field. So I'd like to see the turnover success or streak continue.
Comment here I want to talk about. Did you see AJ McCarron's podcast with Siski? He went in on DJU. So first off, I'm not normally on here promoting other podcasts, but I will say this. First off, Neil McCready is a guy I really like. I mean, I know him from my Cubs world. He's a great dude. And he's the other guy that does the Siski podcast. Siski, I never met him, but he used to coach at the same place that Jay Coker and also AJ McCarron went to school, St. Paul's. Great stories, man. Like he's like opening up now on a lot of the stuff that happened at Alabama. So those guys, so to Neil and Siski, I just, just a kind of a golf clap, man. You guys are killing it. Great show. And love the content. Now, with that said, AJ McCarron, like I'm really interested in AJ McCarron kind of transitioning into the media, because I heard him when he was like first, like before he went back to play football. And it just didn't seem like it was like going really smooth. Like one day I was walking and I heard he was on ESPN, like on the radio. Some guy's like, "Hey, remember that time you got spanked by Saban?" And he should have just been like, "Yeah, it was terrible." Or, "Yeah, he does, he paddled my butt, whatever." He got real quiet. And I was thinking, like, you just got to be yourself, man. And then when I see stuff like this, and I saw the comment about Notre Dame and all, I'm like, man, you know what? If that's what you think and you're willing to tell it, then good for you, because that's how you get an audience. Be yourself. If you didn't like it, the guy called up, you should have been like, "Yeah, you know what? I love Coach Saban, but I just didn't appreciate that," And honestly, what you guys want is you just want us to be us. You just want people to be genuine. So I'm looking forward to seeing. I didn't see that yet, but I will go check that out, because that's interesting to me.
I don't know. It's unfortunate that we have to question if everything's fake nowadays. But I think I saw something about DJU's dad being on a Twitter space with some Florida State fans, and they were, running their mouth about him, and he, he was not taking it very well, which, I mean, any parent wouldn't. You can't really blame him, but just that's a situation. It was, I don't think Nick Saban was talking about DJU at all, but it was just so ironic, and just the timing of it was crazy that Nick Saban made that comment on College Game Day about paying the right guys. If you don't, you're shit out of luck. And then, DJU ends up, playing poorly against Boston College after playing poorly against, Georgia Tech. It hadn't been a great start for him. But yeah, I like AJ McCarron, Mick. I really do. And it's kind of like you see certain people. This is such a different game, man. When you get up there and you like get interviewed, Guys have stood, at the podium and been asked questions before. That's nothing new. I love watching players, current players, but also, past players. The first couple of times that they do it, you can tell they're really nervous, which I totally understand. I've been there before, but they get more comfortable as the years go on, and just kind of seeing them as a completed product on that front, just from start to finish, is always really intriguing to me. And I think that Alabama's got some great, Terrion Arnold was one, just a phenomenal personality, just a great interview. Tyler Booker, phenomenal interview. Some of these guys, man, I really think that, they're going to have a future in this industry, and they're going to do a good job. Just like, I think Damian Harris is on his way up too.
Yeah. I like Damian Harris. I'll tell you what, man, working with Coker. I mean, how far has he come as a person that can get up here and do this?
Great.
It makes me laugh because I think he's so funny. You guys watch him on Elephant in the Room, and then we get Ryan Anderson in here, or Shank if he shows up, or whoever we get on with us. He's just gotten better and better and better at being able to articulate what he's thinking, to say things that, because I think with these guys, it's so tough to be honest, because they don't want to offend anybody. They don't want to say the wrong thing. They don't want to, put themselves out there. But you have to in this business, I've been honestly like super impressed with how good Jake is now, he's been now part of the Tailgate Show, which, we're on throughout the state on Saturday, and you guys listen to it or watch that show too, maybe. But I've been so much so I was like, hey, dude, you do this, you got to come do the Tailgate Show. We got to hire you for that, just because, like, be fun. But I'm curious, like I said, man, I'm curious to see how things turn out in the media world for AJ McCarron. But he's still in the NFL, right? He's back in the NFL, right? As like a backup or something.
Well, I mean, I don't think he is currently. Last year, he went back to the Bengals. Joe Burrow got hurt. They went to Jake Browning, and then they signed AJ McCarron to kind of be their backup. And then he went back and played in the is it the XFL? I always get.
I'm looking at him right here on this Daniel Moore print. He's staring right at me, going to throw me the football.
Yeah, but he did really well again last year. And I think it's the XFL. I don't know. I don't keep up with that stuff. It's probably as much as
practice
I should.
Squad. Thank you, Dustin. Yeah, because somebody told me he was in the NFL, so he's on a practice squad. Pretty cool, man. Well, good for him. I can't wait to check it out, and I appreciate you guys for kind of opening my eyes to that. But yeah, the Siski stuff's been really fun. Now that Saban's gone, you don't have to cover for him anymore. You know what I mean? Like, hey, he's in the media. He's going to be talking about his stuff. Now it's time for us to talk about that. Like, it's not going to hurt the program. It's not going to hurt him. You can tell that stuff and get it out there and have fun with it as well. You guys in the comments section, if you want to ask us any questions today, do that, because we'll take a couple minutes for you. And also covercrimson.com. Anytime you're a member of covercrimson.com and you want to get in on the conversation, just post, hey, you guys, I want to know this, or I want to know that, or, find out this or that. We love to kind of involve you in what we're doing. And it's $1 right now to sign up. So you get the message board, you get all of Clint's stuff, and Stacy and Chris. And then now Mike and I have a show that is exclusive to the message board and subscribers at Cover Crimson, and we're about to add some more content. So just know that we're doing this, and we appreciate all of you guys for being there. All right, here's a question for you. Where is Keeley?
Tuscaloosa. No, he hadn't gone anywhere. He played, I think, 3 or 4 snaps last week. Nothing really stood out about it. Couldn't really say played poorly or played well, based off of that. But I mean, he's just one of those guys. He's developing at a different pace, and they got a lot of talent. I mean, LT Overton's been doing extremely well. Jamarian Latham's been doing extremely well. Jordan Renaud is a former top 70 recruit, in that same recruiting class. He was kind of already built for the bandit position, or a lot more, closer to being built, already than Keon Keeley. So like it's just one of those situations where he's developing differently. And anytime that we were able to go to practice during fall camp, you saw the coaches pulling him aside, giving him extra coaching. They were being encouraging. He's got an unbelievable skill set. And, you know, the upside with him is tremendous, but it's just taking a little bit longer. And I couldn't really tell you one reason or another why that is exactly. I know there were still some technical things from what I've saw, you know, in practice and stuff that he probably needed to clean up. But you know, he's going to continue to get better on that front. And, you know, you don't want to, you know, completely dismiss the kid at all, because he's way too talented to do that. And just because you haven't seen him up to this point doesn't mean that you're not going to see him in the future. But like I said, it's a loaded position. You know, they're looking to get a little bit more out of him, and I know he's working extremely hard to do that. But you know, I don't know why anybody was really surprised by it. Simply, you know, we had the tells were there. People were shocked that he wasn't listed on the depth chart on the 2 deep, and it's like, well, I mean, all throughout fall camp and stuff, I was telling people, you hear about him making plays in these scrimmages and stuff, but it's always against like the third team offense. And when you got 15 scholarship offensive linemen, or 14, excuse me, that means your third string offensive line is at least going to have one walk on it. And that's if everybody's healthy and everybody's participating. So, you know, it was always against really the third stringers. Sometimes, you know, the second stringers a little bit, but you never heard anything about first string and just going against those guys and, you know, performing well and all that. So until you started hearing some of that stuff, I mean, you really couldn't assume that he was just going to make that jump on game days and be a part of the rotation, because the guys who are planning on being a part of the rotation, they're getting first team reps. So, you know, that's just, it's totally fine. It's no reason to freak out, but it's just taking a little bit longer with him.
Here's another great comment. AJ said that more universities are going to start hiring actual QB coaches instead of the offensive coordinators being the QB coach. Now that analysts can coach, most kids go to a QB coach in the summer, right? You hear Jay Coker say that all the time, QB country down here on the other side of the Bay in Mobile. And I agree with this. And let me tell you this, Clint, before you kind of dig in on this again. And guys, as you hang out, please give us a thumbs up. That's a way of saying Roll Tide. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe and share with your Alabama friends. We're trying to build this channel. We're doing a pretty darn good job of it, what you guys are. And we just ask you to help continue to build this, because we're putting a lot of time into it. I can tell you that. We're doing a live show every day for you guys. So thank you for that, and a Roll Tide. Baseball, I think, is kind of moving in the same direction. You have like one batting coach, right? But I could see that, and this was somebody else told me this, and I thought, you know what, it makes a lot of sense. Instead of having one hitting coach, these guys may have hitting coaches that are almost like caddies in golf, right? Where you just have like, it's a guy that's walking with you. It's really like a swing coach that can also read the wind and know where to hit the ball and can calm you down. A psychologist, you know, knows the lay of the land, you know, all that stuff. This is very, very ahead of its time, I guess. But I believe this is something that could happen.
There's no doubt that it's going to happen, in my opinion. I think it's already heading in that direction, and it makes so much sense. Like it's a role that you can take off of the offensive coordinator, to where he can just worry about calling plays, and kind of, you know, the head coach kind of is a bird's eye view kind of person. And any time that a head coach kind of has to, whether, you know, if they have to call plays, whether it be offensively or defensively, you know, sometimes their overall abilities as a head coach kind of suffer a little bit. Not every time, but you know, it could certainly impact things. But it's the same thing with an offensive coordinator. You know, when you're worried about, hey, you know, viewing everything through the quarterback's lens and you're working with them, sometimes maybe you're missing stuff as far as the rest of your personnel that maybe you would catch otherwise. So it's like the more specialized you can get with some of these coaches, where you bring in a guy who's just coaching the quarterbacks. And I mean, I'd be curious. I wouldn't say that I know just a ton about, you know, the quarterback off-season training, you know, stuff. But I will say, you know, like a guy like Jalen Milroe, you know, what do you have kind of the polar opposite style, kind of teaching him things and trying to make him a more complete quarterback? Or are you bringing in, you know, and having him work with people who maybe, you know, have shared with similar successful quarterbacks as far as the way that they play and the way that they win? How did you bring those guys along and make them go from being more of a rushing threat to being more of a complete quarterback? Do you worry about that stuff? Is it all about the relationships with the quarterbacks? Do you have, you know, different ones for different guys? I mean, does it reach that point? I think that would be a little bit crazy and a little bit extreme, but I mean, you just never know. I mean, now that really there's no limits on some of this stuff, you're going to see guys take all kinds of different approaches, and we'll see what works and what doesn't work. But yeah, I mean, I think with where quarterback, the importance of that position, it's only getting more and more important at this point. But yeah, I would think that, you're going to see quarterback specific coaches.
All right, here's another one. We'll do a couple more. And again, thank you guys for hanging out with us. And don't forget, we're brought to you by MyBookie. Double your initial deposit. That's right. MyBookie will double your initial deposit when you use the code next round. Kick off the football season with mybookie.ag and double your initial deposit by using the promo code next round. And we appreciate them so much for helping support our channel. All right. Going right here. Why did Caden Jones get more reps than Justin O?
Now that's I kind of want to pull a Nick Sheridan and just say that's a question for Kalen DeBoer, Coach Kalen DeBoer. But I mean, it could be a number of reasons. You just don't. I will say I was extremely impressed with him in the A-Day game. I thought he was so much more further along as far as just understanding the nuances of playing football than I was originally anticipating after he came, from overseas. But that doesn't mean necessarily that he is, super comfortable and he's ready to rock and roll. There might be an adjustment period happening. Caden Jones is a good player. I thought he definitely had some inside out ability as far as whether he'd be an edge rusher or an off ball linebacker. I think eventually he's not Jahad Campbell by any means, but I think you can do similar things as far as giving him some edge reps, giving him some off ball reps. So, I mean, it's not like it's just because Caden Jones is working ahead of him doesn't mean it's a JO problem and he's not performing. It could be that Caden's just been that good. But I couldn't really tell you one way or another. I haven't really talked to anybody about that. I did notice it.
Mm-hmm.
But it could be, JO might not be 100% or maybe he hadn't been 100% in practice. And just, with that, they limited the reps. Just really could be a number of things. I don't want to speculate too much, but I know that Alabama's got two good linebackers with J.O. and Caden Jones.
Okay. All right. Here we'll go. Finish with this one right here. This Saturday's MVP offense and defense. Clint Lamb, you start us off.
Defense.
Let's go defense first, then offense.
Let's go defense first. Okay. That's a good question. I think with the importance of the run game and stopping their run, I'm going to go out on a limb and say Tim Keenan. And I don't know from a statistical standpoint that he will be that guy. Like he'll be getting all the recognition, but I just think he's going to be very important in this type of game. As far as just, plugging up those holes in the middle, forcing them to do more perimeter runs. And then if your guys can rally to that, then they got to start throwing the football and just getting them out of their comfort zone. So I'm going to go Tim Keenan on defense. What about you, Mick?
Yeah, Damani Jackson. I just think he's going to do something, man. I mean, I'm really liking this guy. You talk about media member type players. I did watch a little of Ryan Williams and Jalen Mbakwe's podcast, and they were funny. Still a long way to go before you get good at it, So they got to keep on grinding out those podcasts. But if they had a guy like Damani Jackson on there, he's just a better speaker. He's just really good. Like you could put him on this show and I just get this feeling that it's just a natural thing for him, right? Where like Booker, he's the same thing. You see him on the next round and he's just good at it. Terrion Arnold, excellent speaker. And so Damani Jackson just comes off as one of those guys to me. Maybe it's a little bit of me pulling for him, but also I just think he's going to jump a route or do something in this game and make a play. And, we'll see. That's my pick for Saturday.
I like that one. I do think that, one of the things with Damani Jackson that we really haven't seen enough from him is, the ball skills. He does everything at such an elite level, like, size, height, weight, speed, the cover ability, just everything up into the catch point. He's been phenomenal at least in high school, and he's been good at it on the college level. And he was really good at that, last week, even though he really didn't get targeted. I thought the technique was there, but it's just I would like to see him start bringing in some of these interceptions, and if he can do that, then he's going to be a very successful corner on the college level and probably on the NFL level too.
Maybe I'm wishful thinking, but it'd be nice to have that. All right, offensive side of the ball, I'm going to go first, Clint, and I'm going to tell you that it's going to be Jalen Milroe. I feel like I have to give Milroe the nod this week because I've had to take up for him a few times this week, and I'm not sure like how you win 63-0 at quarterback and you still get criticized. Oh, yes, I do. It's because you're the quarterback at the University of Alabama. And honestly, I don't remember Bryce Young being criticized, but I remember everyone else being criticized. Jalen Hurts got criticized because you felt like if you contained him in the pocket, he'd have a tough time throwing the ball over good defenses like Georgia. Tua, because he just wouldn't throw the ball away, run around and just take those sacks. Eventually got hurt because of that. AJ McCarron, sometimes people didn't feel like he was mature, although he had the great arm and all the tools, but I remember people saying that. Our friend Jake Coker, who no one seemed to believe in at first. And then by the time that the end of that season, 2015 rolled around, if he had another year, I don't think he would have lost another game. I mean, he was as good as anyone as far as just having his team rally behind him, make plays and win. And I could do this all the way down the line. So I guess that's just part of the job, right? But I'm picking him. He's going to have another big game.
This is like the redemption game, right? This is the game that he had to miss last year. It would be, poetic justice if he got to, he's going to start, but got to start and just absolutely dominate. And it's like, hey, you could have had this last year, which is obviously, not really. But at the same time, I'm pulling for Jalen to have a really good game. I also think South Florida, I think some opportunities can be had, from the slot guy, whoever that ends up being. Which, we kind of saw a combination of players. Obviously, Kobe Prentice is, he's an inside out guy, but a lot of his reps come, from the slot. When he was, really starting to get some playing time in the last game, it was like they brought him in and immediately started feeding him targets. It was just like it was last year, which is crazy because different play callers and everything else. But it's like for one reason or another, he's not seeing the same number of reps as other guys are, but the target per rep is certainly up there because he ended up leading the team in targets despite not getting in until much later. But whether it be him, Kendrick Law started off in the slot last week with Bernard and Williams being the two outside receivers. It could be Law. They're going to move Bernard around. He's going to see some time in the slot. So I couldn't really tell you in particular who that guy will be, but I know that there will be some opportunities for whoever's lining up in the slot. And I wouldn't be surprised if you ended up seeing a few big plays from that position. So I think Milroe is going to be the offensive MVP, but I also want people to keep an eye out on the, whoever ends up playing in the slot.
This guy makes me laugh every day. Like our Auburn friend here, he says he's thinking about getting a Peyton Thorne tattoo on his lower leg. Chris, thanks. You're like, I know sometimes you get after it in the comment section, which I sit here and watch it, but that right there I would love to see that.
I know you like to troll, Chris, but that's one of my.
No one's gonna know who it is. Like in 5
I'm gonna have to call minutes though. I want to see this tattoo. I need you to make this happen. If you do that, no, I won't say that. But
they said you should get it on your rib.
Yeah. Oh man.
Man, you guys crack me up, man.
Stephen Vols too, man. They love getting in here. I want to see the Auburn and the Tennessee fan go at it, but they tend to band together against the Alabama fans. I get it.
Tennessee's got this next week's their big week, right? They got another cup this week, and then they play this isn't the week they play the Wolfpack, is it?
Who?
Tennessee.
Yeah, Tennessee.
Yeah, they play. Oh, it is this week.
It is this week. Yeah, I thought you were asking Auburn. Yeah.
Man, I missed that. Okay.
So that's going to be a really good game.
Man, I'm going to tell you, I'm pulling for you guys, man. I need the SEC to stay strong. I can't have you going in there and losing to the North Carolina Wolfpack.
I wasn't impressed with them last week. I'm just putting that out there.
What, the Wolfpack?
Yeah. I mean, they ended up winning, but I specifically watched them because they were getting so much preseason hype.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to see what the noise was all about. Because I mean, I watched them a little bit, but not really throughout this offseason. So I was like, okay, what's going on with this team? And man, I just was like, I'm not seeing it, guys. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they, beat up on Tennessee, and I'm singing a different tune next week. But I think Tennessee handles.
Guess what, guys? I'll be on the pick show tomorrow, so you'll have me here picking. So I don't want to give too many of my picks away, although I am taking Tennessee to roll the Wolfpack. So we'll be doing that tomorrow, same time, same channel. But thanks for hanging out with us, guys. Clint, any final thoughts?
I don't think I'm good, man. This has been fun. This is, one of those games that you can be excited about because you can learn more about this team ahead of Wisconsin. Next week's when things really start to roll. But, I would say, like I said, it's progressively getting better each and every week as far as the opponents and the excitement around the game. The fact that it's going to be back in Bryant-Denny again, same time, a lot to look forward to. Can't wait.
All right. For Clint Lamb, I'm Mick Gillispie. Again, thank you guys. Like and subscribe. Appreciate you being here. CoverCrimson.com. Sign up for $1. Make sure that if you're a subscriber, you check out the All-American Report with Mike Johnson. New episode is about the drop. So it's recorded. We're putting it up here in just a few minutes. So thanks for hanging with us, and we will talk to you guys again soon. And as we say in this business of all fans and Auburn Tiger fans, roll Tide.